I'd like to call to order the Committee of the Whole meeting for Tuesday, October 14th, 2025. It's being held and transmitted electronically via council chambers located at 39 South Shore Road, Lake Cowichan. I'd like to acknowledge that we're gathered here tonight on the unceded territories of the Subatsit First Nation. Is there any introduction of late items? Mayor McGonigal.
Just a leave of absence for Councillor Austin this evening.
So under new business C, we have leave of absence for Councillor Austin. And just to note, we are joined via Zoom tonight by Councillor Sandhu. With that, would anyone like to approve the agenda? I'm going to have to look at both of yous here. Moved by Councillor Marcus, seconded by
Online.
not Councillor Sandhu. Mayor McGonigal, call the question on those in favour. That motion is passed. Next up, we have public input. If anyone would like to approach us and talk about anything on the agenda tonight, you can do so. Not seeing any in the crowd. I'm not seeing any minutes attached from the last meeting. Is that correct?
That's correct. It will be added to the regular agenda.
Thank you. Business arising and unfinished business. I see none. So we'll go to our first delegation of the night. And this is the project at 340 Grants Lake Road. And it's Miss Zidorozniak. Just before you kick off, you'll be limited to 10 minutes and we won't be making any decisions tonight. But if you'd like to go ahead and present what you'd like to tonight, please go for it.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, council members. My name is Jennifer Zadorozniak. I represent myself and my spouse, David Barber. I'm here today to express my deep concern and frustration regarding the town's handling of our building inspection process and the delay in issuing our occupancy permit. I requested this delegation before you in June. Over the past several months, our experience with the building department has been marked by confusion, inconsistency, and a lack of transparency. Our building permit was issued in 2022 by Mr. Fernandez and Mr. Young, who completed all inspections except the final. Instead of receiving clear guidance, we've been sent in circles and received conflicting information. This has caused unnecessary stress, financial strain, and significant delays. The process has not felt impartial. We have met the conditions outlined in the final inspection report, which occurred on June 5th by Mr. Gutterson. Let it be known that a senior public works staff member attended our final inspection, which a local builder advises is unusual practice. Why are we being treated differently? It seems that the report in your meeting package, which we believe should serve as the basis for issuing our occupancy permit, is not being used for that purpose. In May, well before the final inspection on June 5th, the building inspector emailed that he would not be issuing an occupancy permit without an architect's schedule. Further, the town sent us a letter on July 15th with information that the BC Building Appeal Board has since overturned in August, meaning we do not require an architect's involvement. Recently, we learned council and support staff were directed not to speak with us. How can the town be acting in good faith? We have not filed a lawsuit against the town. The BC Ombudsperson is aware. Despite assurances that a decision would be made by Friday, October 3rd, we have heard nothing. This silence is not only disappointing, it undermines trust in the town's commitment to fair and timely governance. The delay is unreasonable and the silence is unacceptable. We are asking the town to honor its procedures and act in good faith. The lack of communication and follow-through suggests otherwise. As the elected council, you are responsible for exercising administrative oversight and ensuring the delivery of services. The town website states that council develops resolutions and ensures they are executed by its staff. We respectfully request the immediate issuance of our occupancy permit. We have fulfilled the requirements on the final inspection report. The town has had ample time to review and to respond. We are ready to move forward and we ask that you do the same. More than 5 months have passed since our final inspection. What do you recommend as council?
Thank you for that. Are there any questions from council? Nothing. I'm actually quite well versed on this, having spoken to the delegation before. I guess our next step would be to receive this delegation and then leave it with staff to action. Is that how you'd like to leave it, Mr. Thomas?
Sure. Without going into further detail, there's a lot more to the story that is not being shared at this moment. I will say that there have been 2 decisions issued by the BC Appeal Board responsible for building code matters. The first one was issued on August 21st. The second one was issued, a revised one was issued on September 18th, which happens to be the same day that the town had committed to providing a response. I think any reasonable person would understand that if an appeal body provides a revised decision on the same day, it requires a review of the revised decision. In addition to that, the town has received phone calls from legal representing the property owner and have worked through several meetings with the property owner, including meetings with the property owner's engineers, as well as other bodies who regulate engineering in BC to discuss this matter in great detail. There are parts of this construction that are outside of Part 9 of the BC Building Code, not just a determination made by the town, but also a determination made by the property owner's own engineer on this file. So we do anticipate to issue a revised letter with the town's position. We have sought legal opinion, and the legal opinion process is what the town will follow out of an interest of protecting the interests of this town, its staff, and the process that we have had to go through. We don't want to be here any more than the property owner. We would like nothing more than to grant the occupancy. However, our process will include and will respond to following the legal advice that we have received throughout this process.
Thank you for that. And I believe there's going to be correspondence tomorrow to the delegation here. There will be correspondence tomorrow following this. And I'd like to thank you for your time, Miss. I've written down your name to try and get it right. Zadarozniak. So thanks for your time. Is there anything that you'd like to add before you log off?
I just wanted you to summarize what you just said. So when will we hear? Because we had a meeting September 29th. And
You'll have a response by tomorrow.
Okay. And just to clarify for the record, the first line in the BC Building Code Appeal states that our home is this two-story single family dwelling home classified under Part 9 of the code. And that is from the BC Building Code Appeal document August 21, 2025. So we are a Part 9 residential building.
Okay, any follow-up questions? Nothing? Okay, we want to thank you for your time and hopefully we get a resolution to this project very soon.
So tomorrow I should expect a telephone call or email correspondence or what?
Sorry? A letter from the town by post or email? Email. You'll receive an email from the town tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for your time. Okay, next up we have another delegation, Town Lake Cowichan Lagoon Project. And we have, I'm going to make a hash of your last name too, mate. Michael Desilets. Is it close? No, it's not.
It's Desolates.
Yeah, that's what I said. No.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got 10 minutes, and if you need further time, we just have to motion to extend you. So go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening. I'm Mike Deslitz. Represent WSP Canada. I'm a principal engineer and manager of our water, wastewater treatment and facilities group, and I'm the project manager for the town's preliminary design of upgrades to the lagoon system. Next slide, please. So this presentation just going to bring council up to speed on the project history and where we're at. First thing want to talk about is our scope of work. So for upgrading the lagoons, the first of all was to confirm the design basis, the population and the flows that'll form the basis of what we're designing. To conduct the geotechnical investigations and a site survey in support of the design. And then 3 options analysis to confirm the preferred options for phosphorus removal, effluent disinfection, and preferred method for lagoon sludge management. After that, we advanced to the preliminary design of the selected upgrades. And finally, part of our scope of work was to consult with the Ministry of Environment to determine the requirements for permit amendment or registration under the provincial municipal wastewater regulations. Next slide, please. So just to get everyone up to speed, just wanted to go quickly through the project history, starting back in 2009, where my firm did the original pre-design. At that stage, it was contemplated to upgrade the lagoons in 2 stages. The first being the lagoon expansion, and the second phase was the phosphorus removal and disinfection upgrades. Following some time in 2014, we were asked by the town to reevaluate this project staging, and it was decided that the upgrades would be completed in several stages. Lagoon Cell 3 expansion, followed by a second phase of stage 1, which included the Cell 3 hydraulic connection, the new headworks facility, and the aeration upgrades. And then the future stage 2, which was the phosphorus removal and disinfection, would be determined at a later date when that would progress. 2015, the town constructed lagoon cell number 3 per the 2014 staging plan. In 2022, this is where I became involved with the project. We provided the town with the cost estimate update and support for the grant funding application, which was, and then in summer 2023, is a key date here, was the Cowichan River fish mortality event. And later in 2023, the town got approval for its grant, and we were awarded the preliminary design for the upgrades in December. Following that, in January of 2024, we initiated the preliminary design phase and were notified by the town of the events in the summer of 2023. The fish mortality event sort of set the project in sort of 2 parallel paths. The top line here is going to represent the preliminary design, and the bottom dates sort of represent what we've called the interim upgrades. So in February of 2024, it was identified by the town in consultation with the ministry that an interim upgrade was required due to the 2023 fish mortality event. And the Ministry of Environment expected a permit application, amendment application for these interim upgrades. And these interim upgrades were measures that could be rapidly implemented to reduce the risk of a future fish mortality event until the permanent upgrades were constructed. Also in 2024, we, based on the correspondence with the ministry, and sort of set into motion with a little bit more urgency than anticipated was to submit an application for a permanent amendment for the permanent upgrades. So in between February and June of 2024, we were asked to focus on the interim upgrades. And these were completed. This started off with determining what these interim upgrades looked like, and we made the recommendations to the town, followed by the design of these interim upgrades, submitting the permit amendment, which was granted in June, and then finally constructing and commissioning the interim upgrades. The town may know that the interim upgrades included the connection of Lagoon Cell 3 to provide additional treatment capacity, and also the implementation of a interim alum dosing system for phosphorus level reduction. And later, the third component was lagoon desludging, which we completed a proposal solicitation process from contractors to conduct that work, and provided a review and recommendation of award of that work to the town in August. Oh, sorry, just back one, please. Yeah. One ahead. Yeah. And just moving forward quickly, so though that was all done in August, and we got back on track with the preliminary design phase, going through the process options evaluations and progressing the design of the headworks facility. In December, we had a permit amendment pre-application meeting with the ministry, and at that time, the ministry confirmed that the town did in fact need to register under the municipal wastewater regulations and would require an environmental impact study to support that. In January of 2025 of this year, the environmental impact study proposal was submitted, and we also completed the geotechnical investigations. May of 2025, fast forward, we received approval for the environmental impact study, and that was initiated by our subconsultant, Great Pacific. And in June of 2025, we presented the draft preliminary design and conducted a workshop with the town staff. Shortly following that, the town received another notice from the ministry about another permit amendment that the ministry would be imposing on the town to further limit the phosphorus levels being discharged from the lagoons. We worked with the town to consult with the ministry and arrive at an agreeable solution there. And following that, we conducted further design studies on the interim upgrades to optimize the alum dosing system, prepare a contingency plan, which was a requirement from the ministry, and also provide ongoing operations and monitoring support and reporting to the ministry. That brings us into October. We're now back on finalization of the design. Next slide, please. So just back onto the design of the upgrades. Main objectives are to improve the quality of the treated effluent discharge to the Cowichan River, accommodate population growth, and address certain operational issues that the town has experienced. The main challenges include budget constraints, hydraulic constraints, stringent effluent criteria for phosphorus, which was exacerbated by the pressures following the 2023 fish mortality event, and the Cowichan River flow reductions, and the pending results of the environmental impact study. Next slide, please. The design basis for the project was originally established in 2009. And the basis was to provide a sewage treatment for a population of 6,000 people in the town. We've reviewed this as part of the design to be consistent with the OCP servicing policy of 4,500 people population for the town. And based on the growth projection rates, those two design populations would be achieved between the years 2060 and 2045. Without having a crystal ball, it was determined that we would, both of those are consistent with the expected lifespan for design of upgrades. And we proceeded with designing the upgrades based on a population of 4,500 with the ability to expand to serve a population of 6,000 people.
Could I just quickly get a motion to extend the delegations time? And McGonigal, second by Councillor Austin. All those in favour? We're good to go. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. Next slide, please. The upgrade main components include the new headworks screening facility. This is the blue square at the west side of the site, shown in the plan. The Lagoon Cell 3 expansion and hydraulic connection, which was completed as part of the interim upgrades. Aeration upgrades and piping modifications shown in red, and the phosphorus removal and disinfection upgrade in purple at the east end of the site. So the first component is the headworks or screening facility. This facility screens the raw sewage coming in before it enters the lagoons. The key drivers and objectives are to eliminate operational issues with large solids, reduce contaminant loadings to the lagoons, and reduce the sludge buildup in the primary lagoon cell. Here's just an overview plan showing where the building will be located, just west of lagoon cell number 1, and just an overview of the building footprint on the right-hand side. Here's just a 3D rendering of the building again. In the pink sort of rectangles are the raw sewage influent channels where the sewage comes in, and the piece of equipment sticking up out of the one channel is the screen, which removes the large coarse debris from the screen before it enters into the lagoon. Next component is the lagoon upgrades. So the key drivers and objectives are to provide full aeration for Lagoon Cell 3, upgrade the aerators in Cell 1 and 2, piping changes to enhance operational flexibility, enhance solids retainment in Cell 3, reduce potential algae growth in Cell 3, and enhance ammonia removal. So these are, again, highlighted in red here. So you have the circles are the aeration upgrades. The red lines around cell number 1 are the piping changes to enhance operational flexibility. And down at the southeast corner is a settling zone that will be installed in Lagoon Cell number 3. Next slide, please. Phosphorus removal. So this is probably the most important part of the project. The main drivers and objectives are to reliably achieve low phosphorus levels to meet special limit for the Cowichan River, which is 0.25 milligrams per liter. Having a process that is simple to operate and maintain, low capital and operation and maintenance costs in consideration of the budget constraints, and easy to implement and expandable. So part of this, we conducted an options analysis, and we looked at 3 options. The first being biological phosphorus removal. Without going into too much of the details on what that entails, this process didn't quite meet the requirements for the town's lagoon system because it wasn't able to achieve the low phosphorus levels. is also difficult to implement and has other challenges. So that left us with two options, that are based on chemical phosphorus removal, similar to what we're doing as part of the interim upgrades by dosing alum, followed by a filtration process. The two filtration process we looked at are disc filtration and what's called a continuous upflow sand filtration. Next slide, please. So the preferred option that we determined as part of this was the chemical phosphorus removal followed by disc filter. Here's some images of the equipment here. This was selected because of the high reliability to achieve the required phosphorus levels. Very simple to operate and maintain, very easy to implement in terms of construction, and offers a reduced construction timeline. And they were the lowest capital cost as compared to the other filtration option, less than 2 million. And here's just a overview of the facility. So it's at the east side of the lagoons, new building, some civil works and access roads. Next slide, please. And here's a layout of the plant. So this building will also house the disinfection equipment, which I'll talk about next, but the filters there and the associated chemical alum addition equipment. And here's just an overview of the 3D model there at the bottom left side of the screen. You see the disc filters and the alum dosing equipment. Next project component is disinfection. So key drivers, expansion of the current chlorine disinfection system is required to meet future design flows and also to meet the redundancy requirements under the regulations. And also address current regular context for use of chlorine. So currently both the provincial and federal government are would say discouraging or very much restricting the use of chlorine for disinfection for new facilities because it does create toxic byproducts to aquatic life. So the options analysis we looked at are expanding the chlorine facilities with the caveat that they do require a very strong argument for approval by the regulators. And the second option was ultraviolet or UV disinfection. So the preferred option, in consideration of the regulatory context and also the ease of implementation, construction, simple operation, and low capital and operational cost. And again, the no disinfection byproducts or toxicity and supported by the regulators was the UV treatment. So again, these are housed in what we're calling the tertiary treatment building at the east end of the lagoons. And these are the UV reactors here in the building footprint and shown at the right of the 3D model there. Okay, at this point, I'd just like to run through a couple of quick videos to just give you give a sense of where did we skip that? Sorry. We're just going to run through a couple of quick renderings of the upgrades. This number one. So this is just an overview of the entire site. This is based off of our 3D design for the upgrades so far. Starting off you see entering the lagoons and the headworks building located at the front end. With some civil works to build an access road and a platform to construct the building. And here the design concept is to provide a prefabricated steel building for ease of construction and rapid implementation. The equipment is housed inside. And And then we'll fly down to the other end of the site. To the tertiary treatment building, which houses the equipment for phosphorus removal and the disinfection UV equipment. Another prefabricated steel building, pre-engineered steel building for ease of construction. It will have windows as we progress to detailed design. And you can just skip ahead to the second video quickly. It's only about a This video will just show a quick overview of the interior of the Headworks building. That's the raw sewage coming into the facility through that pipe with new flow meter, which the town currently doesn't have to monitor the flows coming into the plant. That'll discharge into these channels. And in the channel on the right side, you'll see in a second, that's the screening equipment that has a fine screen. And then the second screen on the left is a bypass screen for flows that are beyond the design. Also in this building is the new electrical room that'll house the electrical equipment for part of the upgrades. It'll be housed in this room here. You can stop them for the next video. And finally, the third video here is just, maybe we can watch this one in 2x speed. This is the tertiary treatment building. That's the chemical room, which will house the alum injection equipment. These are the coagulation and flocculation tanks where the alum will be added and mixed before going into the disc filters, which you see beyond that to the left here. Also included is an overhead bridge crane to allow for future removal and servicing of the equipment. And down on this level, again, you see the piping and the filter equipment and the UV reactors just beyond the filters. And the rooms above include another electrical room and an operations office and lab room. That's it. And just one last quick slide, just to explain the next steps. Right, next slide, please. So, next steps. Now that we're wrapping up the preliminary design phase, is approval and initiation of detailed design planned for this month. Completing the environmental impact study is the next critical project step that will feed into the detailed design with a target completion date of January 2026. Mid 2026, our current idea is to finalize the equipment selection to allow and initiate pre-purchases of the long lead equipment by April, finalize the detailed design by September of next year. And the key aspects here, dealing with the regulatory requirements, are submitting the final MWR registration package, what's called the final application, which it will include the final detailed design documents and the environmental impact study by October 2026. And part of the strategy, because of the timelines, the Ministry of Environment allows it takes about a year typically or more to get final approval on the MWR registration, which the town doesn't really have the time. So we've been working with the ministry to expedite construction. And the way to do that is through what's called a Section 40 approval, to allow construction to start before the final approval of the MWR registration package by the ministry. And we have support by the ministry on that approach. And then construction tendering late 2026, with hopefully contract award and start by February 2027, and construction completion on or before the March 31st, 2028 grant funding deadline. And in the interim, continuing to work with the town on the interim upgrades. The measures implemented this year did successfully meet the new imposed permit amendment requirements in August and September. The town does have the contingency plan in place. And later this month, we plan to review all of the data that was collected over the summer to determine if any additional measures are required to meet permit requirements for 2026. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Any questions from council? Mayor McGonigal?
I have a few. I'll do one and then see if there's anyone else. First of all, the frustration is that it's 16 years to get here. I know government wheels are square, but looking at the end date, it will be almost 2 decades before this comes to fruition, which I don't feel is appropriate, but that's just me. Have the amendments to the permit caused delays in the design, first of all?
Yes, they have.
And with that,
Well, as far as
sorry.
within the, within our scope, starting in 2024.
And with that, given the significant funds that were afforded for the preliminary work that's needed, is there a possibility, and this is probably through to staff, for an extension on the timeline of those grants for expenditures?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we would certainly ask our grantors to consider an extension if one is needed.
Thank you very much. I'll look around first. If there's another question, I'll carry on if not. So in your numbers, you're looking at projections of 6,000 within the population growth. Was there consideration to the First Nation expansion of their build, given that we are involved in a municipal serving agreement with the First Nation?
Not directly by us. We were given the population numbers by the town to work with. And so the 6,000 was established in consultation with the town. We're not entirely sure where that number came from. But then again, this year, we reviewed the OCP and there's the 44,500 OCP servicing policy in the town's official community plan, and we compared the two to ensure that there was agreement and the timeline for how much time before the treatment plan would require another future upgrade or another solution was an appropriate timeline for a project of this nature and this cost.
Okay, I'm sure staff has heard my question and will take that accordingly. One more, if I may. With the significant electrical needs within that facility, is there also a need for hydro upgrades to accommodate those?
Yes, based on the preliminary design, there will be a hydro upgrade.
Thank you very much.
Just following up on the numbers that Mayor McGonigal raised with the 6,000. So is there options to expand on or upgrade further within these facilities that we are building to accommodate, let's say, another 2,000 people?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, with this, so you don't have to, basically there's room within the facilities that we're designing right now, or measures incorporated into the design so that more equipment will be required, but you don't need to build new buildings.
Okay.
There's still some details that need to be sorted out in the next phase of the design, but yes, that's the goal.
Okay. And then with the Headworks building, so there's a screen in there for larger solids. So if something is large, is there an auger or something that kind of
That's
makes it smaller?
That's almost exactly what it is. It's called an auger type screen. It
Oh, okay.
basically has a fine mesh, and as the wastewater passes through the mesh, the solids get carried up by an auger and removed from, and then the clearer water flows through the screen.
And the larger solids are then taken away or somehow made smaller and put back into the system.
They're compacted
Yep.
and dewatered within the equipment, and they're taken out of the system and sent to landfill.
So there would be another requirement to get rid of those solids from that building.
Yeah,
Like
and
what's going forward.
it's not a large volume, but it is a sort of a weekly thing. But it's a standard procedure at most treatment plants that have a headwork screening facility.
And then as far as, sorry if I keep going, you guys good? If with those larger solids you have to take away, what would you then do with that product? Because I know it's always a battle to get rid of these sludges and soils. So that is it not a large amount that we're talking?
It's not a large amount, and it's not necessarily in the same category as the sludges that you're thinking about.
Right.
So it is common practice to bring these to landfill.
Okay, cool. I'm sure staff are very versed on this. Can see any questions, Councillor Sandhu? No? Anything from staff? Mr. Sandhu?
I can just clarify a couple of the questions. Mayor McGonigal, you were asking about if the First Nations builds were included. They were. We had talked to the First Nations, and everything they had planned on the North Shore and the South Shore were included in the numbers when we presented those to WSP. And the sludge is the stuff Mike's talking about. It's usually stuff that shouldn't be flushed down the toilets. That's what, it gets taken out, and because right now it jams our aerators and stuff, and that's what we're taking out with the screen. Garbage, plastics, clothes.
Towels.
I'm sure you find all. Okay, any other questions, guys? No? No, that was a great presentation. Comment, Mr. Mayor McGonigal.
Just a comment. I think given the reductions in the flows in the Cowichan River down to 4.5 and the significant permit amendments with the phosphorus removal down to 0.25 per milligram per liter, I think it's imperative that we continue to champion for the extra funding needed for the raising of the weir, so we don't get into a situation where we're below 7.5, which would accommodate the dilution of the effluent into the river. I think the phosphorus content of the chlorination in 2023, it was a perfect storm that caused the fish kill. No one particular aspect could be identified as the main contributor. So we do not want to see that happen again. So this is a cumulative approach to mitigating the problems within the Cowichan River, which is only one of 42 heritage rivers in Canada. So I think it's important that we look at this as a dual project that would accommodate the health of the river for not only us, but for our First Nation partners as well.
Yes, Ms. Thomas.
I hear council's concern regarding the timeline of this project has been quite long. I assure you, we as staff are doing everything possible with our engineering team to advance this as quickly as possible. They know that I have a sense of urgency on this, and we will continue to press to compress the timeline as quickly as possible. Once preliminary designs are finalized and detailed designs are completed, we will come back to council with what the detailed designs look like, along with the procurement process we are going to engage in order to move forward with tendering this project. This is a separate, the community needs to think about this project in stages and phases. There is the urgent and emergent work that has been ongoing for quite some time, led by Jazz, Dalton, Mike, and others, to make sure we don't have another fish kill incident happen. So that's one stream. There is a preliminary work that has been done as demonstrated tonight. That's a second stream. And the third stream is the final design stream that is coming online later this year into next year. So one of the biggest, I guess, scheduling challenge we had to work with involves an environmental impact study. We anticipate that to be completed in December of this year. And once that is done, that will inform the final design changes that needs to be made, and also the application we have to make to the province. So all of that is sort of wrapping up, and we're going to be moving a lot faster in 2026 is my anticipation.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Anything to add before we release you, mate?
No, nothing to add. Just it's been a pleasure working with the town on this, and both streams, the design and the sort of interim stuff that has put a lot of stress on town staff. Jazz has done a great job of making sure that that operational, we can do everything we can to try and avoid another fish mortality event. So yeah, thank you to the town.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay, next up we have correspondence. The first one is from the Fisheries and Ocean Canada, Strait of Georgia Stock Assessment. I believe that's just for information, unless anyone would like to comment on that. No, we'd move on. The second one is Youth Parliament of British Columbia. This is an opportunity for youth to become part of Parliament on a one-year commitment. Would anyone like to speak on this at all? Mayor McGonigal.
I'm not sure about the timing of this, whether it would be accommodated to send this to Lake Cowichan School into their leadership class to see if anyone would be interested in this, and then bring forward that recommendation back if the timing is sufficient. If not, just a heads up that we would be looking at a similar option for next year in the Youth Parliament, to give them a heads up that we think that's probably a good idea for those who are so into that.
Yeah, we have about 15 days for applicants to apply. Yeah. So yeah, maybe we fire that through to the school and see how it goes. We have an update from FCM on community priorities and Build Canada Homes. Everyone happy to file those away? You'll speak to D. Okay, we're going Build Canada Homes. Mayor McGonigal.
So they're looking for a municipal individual to join this. I'm wondering if there's any interest at this table to put a name forward. Everyone's shaking their heads. So if not, we will just receive accordingly.
We will receive and file. Next, we have Vancouver Island Counselling, September newsletter. That's just for information, with some good information in there. If anyone does want to check it out online, it's part of our agenda package tonight. Then correspondence F is from the Legion, a request for veteran-themed crosswalk. Would anyone like to speak on this? I could. Mayor McGonigal.
Thank you. It looks like it's my meeting, but I think this is a great idea. There are other communities in British Columbia who have accommodated this. So I would hope that we could direct staff to look at the recommendation provided by the Legion on that appropriate siting. And also if that could be accommodated prior to Remembrance Day services in any way, that would be much appreciated. I think it would go a long way to accommodating some great value, for instance.
Yeah, no, I already looked into it a little bit. Actually, it's interesting because as soon as I seen that, it was the exact same location that was in my mind until I read further down, and that's probably the most appropriate location in town. If you guys want to proceed with it, we'll start working on and see what it's gonna take to get it done.
Just so we're clear, I will make the motion to go ahead with the proposed veterans sidewalk at the said location as soon as possible.
Okay.
Second the motion
Seconded by
with-
Councillor
with
Beaumarchais.
a question.
With the question, let's, in discussion, here we go.
When I talked to Sam earlier today from the Legion, we were assuming that that crosswalk is town of Lake Cowichan owned and not part of the ministry.
Yeah, that's Lake Cowichan.
Okay, thank you.
And budgetary concerns, would it be a large cost or are we good to go on there?
We'll get some pricing, what it's gonna take, and we may have some budget still available. We had some funds put aside for Central Park and the cenotaph, so we'll have a look if we can use those funds or if we have to request others.
Sounds good. Thank you for that. Move on to reports. Oh, sorry, we did a motion there. We'll call the question. All those in favour? Motion is passed. Thanks for that, man. Reports. Go to SEO. Mr. Thomas has got a strategic plan workshop for fall 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before you have a report for me that lays out the structure that I propose for doing the strategic plan workshop over the course of 2 days, 5 hours each, which include refreshments provided by the town. Again, the purpose of this is to reflect and review the current strategic plan, what has been achieved, and what remains outstanding, which will also set the basis for the 2026 financial plans budgeting cycle and potentially beyond. Evaluate performance to discuss successes, challenges, lessons learned for each of those areas within the existing plan. Set forward-leaning priorities, which means council to reconfirm what staff should focus on, what we should perhaps put a pause on, what our top priorities are. I think, for example, the lagoon, and develop a rolling legislative agenda, which is probably something newer to Lake Cowichan in a defined sense. But the intention of that is for council to confirm the set of bylaws and policies it wants to address for the remainder of its term. And hopefully this becomes a practice for future councils, because that helps focus the administration for the limited resources that we have. I know that there is some work in the pipeline coming forward, but this would be a great opportunity for council to set the agenda. Moving forward, there is one outstanding question of date, and I know that there is some scheduling pressures that we have to be mindful of, but we sent it as a quick survey with some options, and we would love for council to pick 2 dates and roll with it.
There's been 2 dates put forward. Well, sorry, 2 days, which will be November 6th and November 7th, which is the Thursday and Friday. Does that work for everybody? Yep. We'd have to check with Councillor Austin, I guess, would be the last one. But if we could pencil in November 6th and November 7th. So just look through the schedule. Okay, that was easy, eh?
So just to be clear, that's recommendation number 1, that council directs staff to organize a council workshop for the purpose of discussing the strategic plan to be held on November 6th and November 7th, 2025, facilitated by the CAO.
It's motioned by Mayor McGonigal, seconded by Councillor Beaumarchais. I'll call the question. All those in favour? That motion is passed. Next, we have a building permit summary for September 2025. I appreciate the new format of these reports. And I believe this is just for information. Next up, we have 135 North Shore Road report. Who would like to speak on this?
I will tackle that one.
You gonna have a go at it?
So a few weeks ago, council had a meeting, I believe on August 19th, in a special council meeting to hear the potential rezoning or a zoning amendment to permit short-term rental use at a property identified as 134 North Shore Road. Test, is that better? So I'll start over again. On August 19th, council had a special council meeting within which to consider a potential zoning amendment to allow short-term rental at the property identified as 135 North Shore Road. During that meeting, council gave first and second reading to the zoning amendment bylaw and also instructed that staff complete the necessary inspections to ensure, among other things, safety of the particular space in concern. Subsequent to that meeting, staff has completed an inspection with the property owner and other parties invited by the property owner. The secondary suite was originally approved as an unfinished basement, not a suite. Somewhere along the lines, it was identified that a building permit was not issued for that construction. While the property is zoned to be able to have suites, there was no building permit, and which means the suite is an illegal suite. If the homeowner would like to make the suite legal and conform with the building code, then they will have to present designs for the space and substantiate that the space actually conforms as designed with the building code. At this time, our building inspector has identified several deficiencies within the suites, which must be corrected in order to meet the requirements of the building code, including, but not limited to, missing smoke detectors, carbon monoxide alarms, insufficient emergency egress in one of the bedrooms, and that is a particularly high-risk situation in the event of a fire, ventilation of space for the hood fan, and appropriate fire separation between the suites and the main dwelling unit, which is again critical for fire safety. In addition to the deficiencies identified in the suite, there are also several deficiencies identified in the main dwelling unit, which would also require work to become compliant with the building code, such as obtaining a wet certification for the stove, the wood stove installed, which we don't have a permit for, replace existing and provide adequate smoke detectors, including in the bedrooms, installation of necessary handrails, and ensuring adequate fire separation with the suite, which is again critical for life safety. It is important to note that while the dwelling likely met the requirements of the building code at the time of construction, with those modifications made at today's standards, they, in our opinion, are not in compliance with the building code. There are a few options presented for council's consideration. Council can receive the report and advance the zoning amendment bylaw to third reading and/or adoption. That poses risk and exposure to the municipality and is not being recommended. Option 2, for council to receive the report, pause further consideration of the zoning bylaw amendment until such time that the deficiencies are remedied and the property becomes in compliance with the BC Building Code. Again, that is a no risk to the municipality. That means the town staff will continue to work with the property owners to become compliant should they wish to continue to pursue that. and council can at a later point continue the process of rezoning to allow that to happen. Or in the future, if council was to apply a zoning change for the entire community that allows that, that can take place at that time as well. So there are a few options for council to consider.
And it would seem that the applicant is only just receiving this information tonight, so we apologize for that. It is attached to the agenda with all the things that have been flagged. There is a recommendation from staff here, which is option 2. Shall I read that out again? Sorry. Strong voice, mate. It's good.
I have a strong voice. I choose not to use it. With that being said, I am surprised to learn that this is the first time the property owner is getting this information. I don't believe that that's the information we have on file. The inspection took place with the property owner, and I would certainly expect that our building inspector provided a copy of that report, but I will verify for council.
Okay. So there's a recommendation. The recommendation is to receive this report and pause further consideration of the zoning bylaw amendment until such time that deficiencies are remediated and the property is compliant with the BC Building Code. Would anyone like to motion that? Councillor Vilmarca, seconded by, sorry, Councillor Sandhu. Any further discussion on this? Mayor McGonigal.
Thank you for the report, and I think it's important that this process come forward at all applications for short-term rentals. There is certainly a number of suites within the town of Lake Cowichan that may have resided within similar circumstances, being built without permits, etc. The only thing we're trying to do is ensure the safety of those who visit and utilize those facilities. If possible, if that is come to fruition, then there would be no problem accommodating the third reading within that zoning amendment. We understand that we do need accommodation in the West Cowichan, given the vacancy rate, and are looking at every avenue to accommodate that in a safe and timely manner. So with that, I will support the option number 2.
Councillor Vilmarca.
Just clarification from our CAO. So now that we know that this was a non-conforming suite and that it is housing individuals, are we setting ourselves up for liability knowing, or is the owner still allowed to have tenants in that suite while he does these deficiencies?
Hang on, we'll just hold you up there. Sorry, would you like to reply to that one? Can we allow it?
Sure.
We're going to allow it.
Is it working? Okay, good. I actually just had the governing body for BC, which is the CLBC, Community Living BC, come through my house and do a full inspection on everything. And they're quite happy. So that holds a lot of water right there. They look for everything.
Okay, thank you for that.
So that's clarification from a governing body, but I'm asking our liability of the town of Lake Cowichan to the CAO.
With respect to the continued use of a non-conforming space, that's something I would have to take back and get back to council on. I would rather verify before I speak on that issue publicly.
And the only reason I'm asking is a few years ago, we had another incident where there were residents below a commercial building and it was non-conforming. And that owner, I believe, had to ask the residents to be relocated. So that's the only
I can't allow any more. I can't allow any more input. Thank you. There will be question time at the end where you can ask questions at that stage. Sorry, from your question. So I think we had a resolution on that. Lastly, just from my point of view, I know that we are trying to come up with some solutions for short-term rentals, but I think it puts council in a difficult spot if we haven't had a report back from staff on how we want to proceed on short-term rentals. I know that we have directed staff to come up with a plan whether we opt into I can't remember the short-term rental provincial thing. So if we were to approve things like this, it kind of sets precedents that everyone can come and get that license for short-term rentals. So I'd like to see, like, I don't think that council should be made to make any decisions on short-term rentals until we have that guidance from staff on how to proceed, because it does put us in a tough spot. Mr. Thomas.
I love the fact that council is stating that position. I would love a recommendation or a resolution from council to that effect, so that when members of the public does come forward, we can provide that. There's a preliminary decision on council on the approach, and we are going to work and bring forward a community-wide report back to council.
Before a resolution would be tabled for that, they would need to know a timeline or a approximate timeline on when advice would be come back for that, just so people have got a reasonable timeline on when this can be expected.
Great question. We are in the process of recruiting a full-time director of bylaws and development services. I anticipate they're going to need at least 30, 60 days to get their feet under them from the time they start. So I imagine this will be a January project.
I will motion that council doesn't be presented any.
Till resolve that.
You're right. So we're going to call the question on the original motion, which is option 2, which I read out before. If there's no more discussion on that, I'll call the question. All those in favour? That motion is passed. Getting ahead of myself, eh? Still learning, you know? Sorry? Thank you. Just won't call you mate, you know? Okay, with that, I will motion that council not be presented any amendments to the bylaw, zoning amendment bylaw, for short-term rentals until a report and direction is given from staff. Is that complete enough? You want me to add anything to that? Yeah, go for it.
I'm always conscious of wording that suggests staff is given direction to council. We provide options to council. How about that council pause further consideration on short-term rental application until a report is brought forward no later than the end of January 2026.
I like it. That's what I said, wasn't it? It was pretty close. Do we have a seconder to that motion? Yes. It would, yep. Seconded by Councillor Vormarker. Is there any further discussion on that? No discussion, I'll call the question. All those in favour? That motion is passed. Again, you can bring this up at question period at the end of the meeting. Next, we'll move on to the financial report from our Director of Finance, Ms. Gill.
Okay. The financial report for the 9 months ended September 30th are attached for your review and input. If you have any questions, let me know. I just wanted to mention that the tax sale was cancelled. All delinquent accounts were paid. Last year, one property was sold and was subsequently redeemed. We started the process with over 20 properties with delinquent accounts, so I was very happy there was no tax sale. Lakeview Park and the Visitor Center have now closed for the year. The budget process for 2026 has started with the fire department. This will be the first budget coming forward to council for review and input before it's finalized and sent to the CBRD. The current financial statements do include business license revenues, but 4,560 of that is still uncollected, and that's something that we're working on. I'd be happy to answer any other questions council may have.
Mayor McGonigal.
Thank you. Through you, if I may, I'm going to go back to the CATSA Museum. The 2024 budget was 13,000, and at the last financial report, it was showing no expenditures, having stated that it was operational. I'm seeing a number of $12,744 in there now. Has that been coded as per the upgrades on the museum project for 2024?
You're on page 12?
Page 9.
I'd have to look into it and get back to you.
I had asked for whether or not this was a request for quotes or a self-sourced project. And on that, I'm going to ask, what is the threshold for sole-sourced capital projects within our policy?
I did not aware there was a threshold
Okay,
for sole sourcing. Yeah, we can bring a policy back.
okay. And further, if I may, through to Public Works, is the CATSA Museum the responsibility of Public Works for capital projects?
In the past, it was not, I'm handling it now.
So it has transitioned into Public Works?
Yes.
The oversight?
I've been asked to look after it.
Okay, thank
We
you.
got the work completed this year, yes.
Thank you. Appreciate it. That's all for me.
I'll have a go. Just through to, oh, sorry, Councillor Sandhu.
Thank you. I just had a question through to Director of Finance. The uncollected fees for business licenses, how do we go about getting those going into 2026 if businesses haven't paid it for 2025?
Well, we will hope that we will be collecting them. We are sending out reminder notices. But it is not something that can be transferred to taxes, so it is an effort to collect them.
Okay. Just a follow through, if I may. So do we have any policy or anything in place that we can refuse the next year's business license until the previous outstanding business licenses are paid?
When we collect fees, they always go to the oldest amounts first, so you cannot pay for next year's without paying for the previous one.
Okay, so that was my initial question, so, okay.
Okay, sorry.
Then for clarification on that, our business license are around $100 each. So does that mean there's around 45 businesses that haven't paid, or is there other fees?
There's a $25 late penalty now that was applied at the end of February for all those that hadn't paid by that date.
And I guess a business operating without a business license would be a bylaw issue?
Correct.
Oh, okay. And yep, sorry.
Would council like us to bring forward a list of businesses who have not paid?
Sure. No, there's a few here that are. You good? Yeah, I've paid up. I'll ask, I'm going to have to ask you to stop commenting during the meeting. At the end of it, we'll have you up for question time. Thank you. All businesses are advertised on our website. Is that something that council would like to do? Would we request the businesses that are owing? I'm not seeing any appetite for that at the moment.
No, I think if we just leave it to our staff and our bylaw enforcement.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah, those businesses that haven't paid are not advertised on the website until
Yep.
we pay.
And then I'm going to follow up with a Sandy dump question. are there any measures that we can take to make sure everyone is paying at the Sandy dump? Has anything been looked into if signage is failing?
Yeah, we try to monitor it quite a bit. Signages, yes. Other than that, at this point, we don't really have any other methods.
Is there an alarm system that we can look at if the lid is left open for more than 10 minutes?
I have spoken with the supplier, and at this point, they do not have a system. They were working on one, but this was several months ago when I spoke to them, and they did not have anything in place.
Could we look at a third-party supplier for that service?
Yeah, we could possibly, yeah. Actually, I've just a few days ago, I had a company come up and look at putting new cameras in better locations so we can get license plate numbers, et cetera, that are the people that are doing what they're not supposed to be doing. And I can check with them if they could come up with some alarm system.
Yeah, because I believe that we're probably missing out on a substantial amount of money in that. And I'm sick of getting in fights at the Sandy dump. Councillor Sandhu?
I'd just like to see some loud noise. So when somebody puts a rock under there and then somebody goes to take it, that there's some loud noise that scares the crap out of them. I think investing in cameras and looking at license plates, who's going to follow up on that? And that's a question.
It's a good question. It's a good question, and yeah, we don't know if we're gonna go that route, but I'm getting prices to see what we can do. We do have a camera system, but it's not very clear right now.
Has there been any discussion about staffing that location over busy weekends?
We have had discussions about that, and the last long weekend this year, we did staff it. We had a extra student come in and spend most of the time there and picking up garbage around town, and yeah, it definitely helped.
Yeah, although staffing is always a worry for budget times, I think that they would definitely pay for themselves in the added income from the Sandy dump. Any other questions to do with the finances? No, we will move on. Thank you for that. Although we're going to stay with you. Proposed 2026 financial plan process. Ms. Gill, would you like to speak, or would you like to speak on that?
Just wondering if council received the financial report.
Oh, you want a motion to say that we received it? Okay. Anyone would like to motion that we received that report? Councillor Sandhu, seconded by Mayor McGonigal. All those in favour? The motion is passed. Sorry, that's something new for us. We don't usually do that. Okay, onwards to the proposed 2026 financial plan.
So we're looking at starting the budgeting process earlier this year. So with the target budget completion date for February of 2026. So we've come up with some targeted dates, starting with the strategic plan that was discussed earlier in the meeting. We'll be meeting to discuss some operational requirements. We need to determine operational requirements, what changes, staffing is needed, calculate the associated costs. So looking to schedule some meetings for that, for the capital requirements as well, and then present those to council. I don't know if we want to set dates tonight or look at something, sort of a new process with new CAO. And so, yeah.
Okay, so we're looking to set dates for that tonight, or that will be something that we'll poll later on?
The dates could be set later on. The important part about this is the process and making sure that council is in alignment with the process, starting with your strategic plan where you set your priorities and you communicate that outwardly to the community and to staff. Following that, looking at your operational budgets for the current fiscal year, and perhaps even historical, but more importantly, setting the operational budget for 2026 and the other 4 years beyond that in alignment with your strategic goals. Setting your capital budget. Some of the projects that we have on the go for 2025 will be carried forward into 2026 because they may not be completed. For example, the Lagoon project or the Public Works Yard improvements, or you name it. There's a number of capital projects that will be carried forward. Council will have an opportunity to decide if it wants to continue investing in those projects or if it wants to shift funding for other priorities that council may deem important. Following that, we look at presenting those options to council. What is our service levels for 2026 projected to be? What will the tax implications be as potential consideration for council to balance out the budget? There might be increases in level of service in some areas, like the Sandy Dump, which was just discussed. There might be decreases in other areas. There might be new regulatory requirements coming on the pipe that we have to be prepared for rather than be reactive to. And one of the most important part of this whole budgetary process is the public engagement component. I can't necessarily speak about how it has been done historically, but in my experience, it has been very effective to have things like open houses with staff and council presenting to the public what the plan will look like for the next 5 years, receiving feedback in the form of surveys or open house feedback documents, and council gets to consider in a formal meeting the response it has received and whether or not it's going to direct any changes based on the response it has received. Because sometimes information come forward that council or the administration may not have any idea is a core issue in the community or is a significant challenge that needs to be addressed. And that is where council gets to take ownership of its budgetary process for the municipality. And again, refine the budget until we get some information from BC Assessments, which tends to come out in the end of January after the appeal window is closed. Once that is revised, we will be in a position to do finalized calculations for taxation. And again, this is this is a vision for the budgetary process. There needs to be room for flexibility because dates might happen, things might happen, emergencies might happen that may change those preliminary dates. And hopefully we pass the budget much earlier than May 15th, which is the statutory deadline, because the value is for us to implement it, not talk about it until up to the legislative deadline.
Mayor McGonigal.
Thank you. And given our strategic plan direction of November 6th and 7th, will that have any impact on these timelines? They may have to be amended accordingly.
Definitely, we will be in a position to revise potential dates for council consideration as early as the regular meeting at the end of this month.
Thank you very much.
We do sincerely appreciate the timeline of this process. It's very clear and it gives great guidance to everyone involved, and it's awesome to see. So thank you for that. Is there any action we need on that report?
Receive and direct to amend the schedule and bring that back on the regular council meeting.
Okay, so that's just a direction to staff. Let me catch up here. Next up, we have the incident report for the fire department for September. Would anyone like to move the amount of $12,106.44?
Move option 1.
I didn't even know we had options. These new reports have got me in fits. We're moving option 1 by Councillor Vormarker. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Sandu. I'll call the question. All those in favour? That motion is passed. Next up under new business, we have fire department, the grant application and the equipment and for equipment and training. So we have two documents that are attached to this. We have the grant application and the equipment and training needed. Would anyone like to speak on this?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So before council, we have a grant application for UBCM. The deadline, I believe, is fairly close. I feel like it's in October. I don't have that up top. October 31st, sorry. The fire department is hoping to submit that application for equipment, emergency operations center equipment training, emergency support services. These are the categories that the grant application would allow. Emergency support services, equipment and training, foundation of disaster risk reduction, indigenous cultural safety and cultural humility training, public notification and evacuation, route planning, volunteer and composite fire department equipment and training. And in order to submit the application, we do require a resolution from council to UBCM. And again, this is the committee of the whole. So this resolution would go forward to the meeting at the end of the month, regular council meeting, for it to have force and effect. But we do need that in order to advance the application stage before the deadline of October 31st.
Okay, so the financial, there's no implications there because it would be 100% funding the equipment, the amount of $30,000. The recommendation is that the committee of the whole recommend to council that the town of Lake Cowichan submit an application under the UBCM Community Emergency Preparedness Program for equipment and training for the Lake Cowichan Volunteer Fire Department in the amount of $30,000. Would anyone like to move that? Councillor Vamarka, seconded by Councillor Sandhu. We'll pause slightly before I call the question. Do you want me to run you through what it is? We're good? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favour? That motion is passed. Next up, we have operations, which is sidewalks on South Shore Road and Cowichan Avenue. Getting through to Superintendent of Public Works, Mr. Sandhu.
Thank you. As we all know, we have some deteriorated sidewalks around town. And one of the ones we identified this year is the two sections noted on here, South Shore Road from Point Ideal to Cowichan Avenue, and in between the A&W and the daycare and up around the corner at J&V's. We actually had to do some emergency repairs this year. There were some issues. It just started falling apart and had quite some big holes in it. So what we're looking at, and I've talked to others too, with the amount of brining, especially on South Shore Road, which is a highways road, and they brine everything, and the heavy brining is it's deteriorating the sidewalks concrete faster than normal. And other municipalities are finding this, and heavy use of rock salt. We've noticed, we did the sidewalk here at the seniors a few years ago, and that winter they heavily used salt, and it started pitting already, that sidewalk. So North Cowichan is several years ago they did drink water, and now the new roundabout near the hospital, they've gone to asphalt sidewalks. They're still going concrete curb and gutter and asphalt sidewalks. As you see here, it's actually cheaper and it's more durable. The salt doesn't affect it, the brine doesn't affect it. And even for repairs, it's much easier for us to cut through it and repair. So basically it's the budget is there. What we're asking is, well, even in this case, there's a $19,000 savings from concrete to asphalt. It's now council's choice if you want to go concrete sidewalks, stay with concrete sidewalks, or maybe try some asphalt sidewalks.
Councillor Sandhu.
Thank you. I just had a question. So if we went with asphalt, what is the impacts of winter, like ice and snow? Anything different than being concrete?
No, that doesn't make any difference.
Okay.
It's just that if it's being salted, they don't pit and deteriorate like concrete has been doing.
I will move option 1 that we proceed with asphalt sidewalk installation. Approve replacement of the identified sidewalk sections using asphalt, achieving cost savings and improved resilience against salt and de-icing products. And direct staff to develop a multi-year sidewalk renewal and maintenance program based on this material standard. And I will speak to it if I have a seconder.
Councillor Von seconded.
And with that, this isn't the first implementation of asphalt within our community for sidewalk replacements. If you go up by Stone Park and Ravine Park, both sidewalks have been replaced previously with asphalt. The only concern I have is within snow removal from the raised asphalt bed from the road bed. There is some slight damage occurring during that time. So with the curb and gutter on those, that would be mitigated in that fact. So given that we're brining by MCON or whoever the contractor is on the main road, would that have a significant impact on the concrete curbing?
It doesn't appear to, I think because it's a small section, it doesn't appear to affect the sidewalk or the curbs like it does on the sidewalk. I think the sidewalks have got a larger, flatter surface, so it might tend to stay there longer.
Thank you.
One thing I'd like to clarify on these quotes here, over and above these quotes, removal of the old sidewalk is an over and above that, but it's going to still stay within our budget. So John's question was the sidewalk base. We can, yes, we still have time to do it this year. I've talked to Duncan Paving and we still have about a month and a half time before they shut their plant down.
Question the superintendent, just curiosity. So when you're talking about the salting of the road and the brining, how does that differ from businesses or residents using salting on their sidewalk over time?
They're using salt, rock salt, that usually residents don't use as much or very little. The business tend to use more. And the main drag through town is where we're seeing the heavy brining from MCON, right? So I think that sprays up onto our sidewalk and affects it more.
So this price includes new curb and gutters?
No.
So we're reusing the old curb and gutters?
Old curb and gutter stay. We rip out the old sidewalks and replace it with asphalt.
And then with your example that you've got, the photo there, it shows the driveways still being concrete. Is that something, I know that there's not a lot of driveways in the area that we are doing footpaths, but is there going to be that considered?
No.
Okay.
No, we'll go all asphalt.
Yeah. And then we have had some issues with contractors before, maybe out in front of this building. I don't know if we want to say who the contractors are, but are we concerned at all with quality control on this new footpath?
I think you're probably referring to the concrete sidewalks we did.
That's right.
Yep. Yeah, because we're going with asphalt, it's a different crew.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion. If there's any more discussion, no more discussion. So I'm going to call the question. All those in favour? That motion has passed. So we'll move on to new business C, which is a leave of absence for this meeting for Councillor Austin. We have a mover of that. Councillor Vilmarca, seconded by Councillor Sandhu. Call the question. All those in favour? That motion is passed. Are there any notices of motion? No? We now have question period. If you're off-site and you'd like to phone in, 250-749-3239. For anyone in person, you have a maximum of 3 minutes per speaker, and it must be a question. It cannot be a statement, and it must be directed to the chair. If anyone would like to step forward. Just 3 minutes. gotta hit the button.
I think there's a bit of heavy-handedness going on here because I did have an issue with the town. My neighbor,
I will just stop you. These have to be questions. They can't just be statements about staff or procedures. These need to be questions directed to us. So if you have any questions, we can field those at the moment.
okay, so from what I understand, even though there was, first reading, second reading pass, and then basically third reading was to say what needed to be fixed before we can do this and make it compliant, and that's all good. But then I get told, if I understand correctly, maybe I'm wrong, so that 2,500 that I had to pay out of my pocket, plus the 300 for the rezoning sign, is all for naught because you're gonna now do the whole thing where you hire some agency to do another analysis thing about it, and then, so then it could be like, okay, yeah, all you have to do is put in your $100 licensing fee. Meanwhile, I put in 2,800 bucks to get this thing. And then this is like new business. It's changing. An agreement has been made. It's because the agreement has been made that all we have to do is come in compliance with the regulations. Why is it now that all of a sudden the rule says that, oh no, now you have to wait for a survey? I've already challenged CLBC on issues like this here and won because it can't be done. And also, is there somebody here that you know of that sits on a board with CLBC or one of the agencies?
I'm unaware of that. I'm going to put a question through to staff, to our CAO, on the fees and what happens at this stage. I know that
A lot of money.
the recommendation, sorry?
A lot of money.
That's right. The recommendation has been to pause this until time the deficiencies are remediated.
And
I
that's-
do understand that we've brought in a new motion about short-term rentals,
Yeah,
but I'll get some clarification on the fees.
yeah.
The application is still alive and the fees
Okay.
is still in play because of that. 2 readings have been done. The obligation, the responsibility is now for the property owner to become compliant with the outstanding deficiencies, and then we can move forward with the application if council wishes to. It will come back for 3rd reading and adoption and go forward from there.
Okay, so this is,
So a motion from tonight does not affect
Feel good.
yours.
yeah,
And then it has been laid out here of what the deficiencies are in the property. So if you were to bring that up to scratch, we would then hear it. But I must highlight that it is our building inspector that has the call on that. It's no other agencies. So it is what he's highlighted in this report to you today.
Now, I'm not an architect. I'm not a construction worker. So, when I get these deficiencies, as you put it, will they be in layman's terms?
Yeah, like the egress would be someone can't fit out the window in your bedroom.
I do have a reason for that, though.
Okay.
It's for a safe.
I'll let you bring that up because we're just the council. You can bring this up with the building inspector.
Okay. Yeah.
And then ventilation spaces and hood fan was pretty self-explanatory. I'm unsure of what the fire separation would need.
Stove, I'm taking it out and plugging up the plug. I don't even use
There
it.
you go. And then the wet inspection, you'd have to get someone to inspect your fireplace. And then most of it's smoke detectors and carbon monoxide and installing handrails. So I think
Yeah.
I think that most of this is pretty self-explanatory. And if you need clarification on it, you could hit up our building inspector.
Yeah, now when I talked to the building inspector, he said something that everybody, I got on the phone, boom, right away with everybody I know who's built houses and everything else. I go, what? When they said, they get it that yes, you put an extra sheet of plywood to create more of a fire barrier. I understand that completely. But then you put this bar in between each layer and all this stuff for venting is, whoa, I've never heard of that.
Yeah,
Nobody
I'm
had-
not sure of that one either. So we can get clarification from staff for you on
Yeah.
on what that requires. I'm not educated on that one either.
So then that was it, right? Just the barrier, the fire barrier.
Yep, there's a list of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 things here, but the application is still live. So you're good.
Yeah, okay, so I can still move ahead with that.
That's
Okay,
right.
I thought, no, I gotta wait till a new survey, cause
All
You see it
good.
all the time with the government, you know, the square wheels. I just saw square wheels there, and went,
Square wheels, that's right. People like sharpening them too for some reason,
We're
but
trying to get these boys, pick them up to Mount Washington
Okay.
for Christmas.
thank you for your time tonight, mate.
Yeah, all right, I think that's, oh, let me just double check one quick thing here. There's verbal diarrhea. See, when you said something about suite being, not being legal, I did a subject two. I always do subject twos when I buy real estate. And one of the subject twos was that the suite was legal. And they checked with all the town, came back and said, yeah, it's all legal. So I'm not sure how that works.
I'm not sure of that one either. I'm not sure of the question
Yeah.
either. Mr.
I
Tom.
can get a hold of the Realtor to get a hold of you guys and do
Mr. Aubrey,
do process to prove all that stuff.
the process for you to challenge the validity of the deficiencies is with myself
Yeah,
and the building inspector. You were on site when the inspection was done.
Yeah.
You're very well aware of what the deficiencies are.
Yeah.
This is not a council matter at this time.
Democracy's out the window.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, for sure. Yep, for sure. Yep. We would have to talk to our building inspector on that. So we'll direction to staff to communicate on that. Sounds good. Okay. Are there any other questions tonight? Yes. You just gotta push the round button.
Sorry, I just had a question, now that the summer season tourist season is over. Is there any pending studies reviewing what can be made better?
There has been a something brought forward by council to address at the next council meeting on the management of garbage over the summer months. I know that that has been, it's also been requested that we talk about if we have implemented any of the parking study that we had last year. So that will be coming forward at a future meeting. So the answer is yes, we are reviewing both parking and garbage maintenance or disposal, I should say.
Okay. I would like to volunteer myself to bring forward, I think, some constructive improvements that could be made. I'm retired, I have time.
Okay, I think the appropriate way to deal with that would be for you to email those recommendations to our CEO. And then at time when we're presented those things as an agenda item, that they can be brought forward as well as correspondence from yourself.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you. With no further questions, we're going to move into in-camera. Section 92 of the Community Charter requires that before a meeting or part of a meeting is closed to the public, the council must state by resolution that the meeting is to be closed. And the basis on which this meeting is to be closed falls under the following section of Community Charter: labor relations and other employee relations, the acquisition, disposition, or expropriation of land or improvements, if the council considers that disclosure could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality, or the receipt of advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for those purposes.
If I would move that we resolve to in camera under those items.
I should have got you to read that out, John. That was a tough one, man. I really walked into that. Seconded by Councillor Vilmarca. All those in favour? That motion is passed. We're going into camera. Thank you for your attendance tonight. 10-minute recess or a 10-minute recess?